like to waste no time. We got a 4x4 closure here. We're going to fold it in half. Yes, I mean fold it in half. Now you want to line up the hairline. We all know this leg's been a little flimsy, ain't a little unreliable, so you have to go by the hairline. So you'll see when I fold, it doesn't look perfectly matched with the lace part, but we're not going by the lace. We are going strictly by the hairline. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna mark in the middle. I say mark, my markers wash off. You don't see them after you wash, and then we're gonna cut this part anyway. So I just like to mark the middle. It gets a little blurry. I'm still learning how to use my camera in manual and auto settings, so bear with me. I just want you guys to get the best point of view via YouTube. But yes, you're gonna put a little marking where the middle is on the front and the back. So this is almost like to dummy proof that you centered your closure. Like I said, you're gonna make sure the hairlines match, not the lace. That's very important because all lace is not the same, even from the same vendor. They can mess up, they can be inconsistent, and we're human. So yes, so like I said, you're gonna do the front and the back. You're gonna put a little marking to show you where the middle is, so it makes it a little easier, almost dummy proof. And this reflects for a 4x4 or 5x5. I never use 6x6 or 7x7, so I cannot speak to those. Yeah, so that's just that. So yes, you're gonna mark it, and then you're gonna use those markings to place your closure down on your wig block. I am using a 22 wig block. I am doing a standard wig for like ready to ship, quote unquote, or my ghost wig making. For the most part, I always use 22 because that is the medium size. We know we can go as small as 20, go as high as 24. You actually can go as small as 19, but just depends. So then you see, I don't know if you can see the marking, but I can see the marking. I'm gonna bring it to the middle, and I'm gonna bring it just a smidge. Like I don't even have a measurement for that, but you're gonna go just a smidge over the cap and pin it down. Never pin in your hairline, always pin on the lace, because if you know TPNs get caught and they rip and they tear, and you do not want to have to replace a closure or any lace, especially as high as Lacey is right now. I hope North Korea hurry up and open, because coming across lace is so hard these days, especially good HD lace is really, really tough. So then you see that middle line in the middle of your mannequin head. We're gonna match that up with the marker we had in the back, and you're just going to stretch out as much as possible, not necessarily like super, super tight, but you want it flat, if that makes any sense. I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can. I love giving you guys online videos, but it is hard to explain sometimes, especially with voiceovers, on how to get it. So I hope the visual and the audio mesh together so you can get what I'm trying to say. So boom. So you got the back pin down. Usually I would have my hair clipped out the way, but I really want to get this video made because I've been procrastinating, I've been busy, and I apologize, y'all, so bear with me. So you're gonna pin those two down in the front. They usually curve around the head because why, we're working on a curved surface and not a flat surface. So yeah, you're just gonna pin those down in the front. As you can see, they lay almost perfectly down as soon as they pin, and even when you spin around to the back, you'll see that they'll already kind of be laying flat where it needs to be. Now, I can say with a 5x5, sometimes you'll get that M shape like you would with a frontal. So if you get the M shape with a 5x5, and it's like a slight M, it's not a heavy M, so don't overdo it. But if you do get a little bulkage in the front as far as the M in the lace, you'll still be fine as long as that back is laying flat. So that's the difference between the 4x4 and the 5x5 as far as laying this down for your guidelines. So we're going to, I lost my train of thought. Like, voiceovers are really hard. But yes, I'm just trying to pin this down the best way I can and make sure that it's laying flat. So So we're going to take our metallic marker, and yes, I put a little dot, and I mean a little dot, on the closure. Why? Because I sew my closures down with the sewing machine, and I need a way, I call them landmarkings, to be able to let me know where my corners are as far as where I start, where I should finish, and just to give me a guide while I'm sewing to say, hey, I'm on the right track or I'm off the track. So if my dots are not lining up with my landmarkings, then I'm like, okay, I gotta start over, I gotta take it off, whatever I need to do to get it back on track. This is the way that helps me be able to sew my closure on with a sewing machine. No, I no longer sew it on beforehand. I sew them all. I sew everything with the machine now. It's been maybe almost 3 years, maybe 2, something like that, since I recorded my first sewing machine video, and I'm not gonna say a lot has changed, but a lot has changed. So, but this is one of them. I no longer hand stitch my closures or frontals onto my cap prior to, I hate all these prior to making my wig. So I just did my outline. Like I said, I marked all my landmarkings, which will be all my, pretty much where all my T-pins are. There is a mark for me to know where to go. And the next thing we're gonna do is to be able to start our guidelines. To start those guidelines, you're going to pin your measuring tape a 1/2 inch away from your closure or your frontal. And this is 4x4 and 5x5. You're gonna do a 1/2 inch from your frontal, and you're gonna pin your measuring tape down. Now you can pin it down in the back, or you can hold it with your hand. Over time, I'm gonna hold it with my hand because that's one less thing I have to do. So, but you wanna make sure it's in the middle. Because we're working on a curve, sometimes these lines are not gonna look straight, but they are. So I don't know where I went wrong with some of this, but yes. As you can see, I moved it over a little bit. But sometimes, because we're working on a curve, it does not look like a straight line because it's on a curved surface and not a flat surface. So remember that when you are looking at anyone's videos, that a lot of the times their lines are straight, but they are on a curve. So I'll piggyback on that too when we're making our guidelines. But literally, you're going to make a marking on each side, one side, whatever one works for you, at every inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Usually I don't go past 10 for the most part, but you want to try to make those lines as straight as possible. As far as making them, I'm starting to notice my marker is running out. I'm going to make the lines clear further in this video. I didn't realize it until I was mid-stride. I was on the road. I was like really proud of myself that I even recorded the video because I have been just so busy, and I appreciate everybody's support when it comes to anything, from buying hot tools, from booking classes, coaching calls, all of the above. I appreciate all of it. But as you can see, I'm just going in and filling my line in for where that ruler was at or measuring tape was at. As far as lines, depending on how many bundles I have and how long the hair is would determine whether or not I do the last line at the nape. If I don't have enough bundles, or because sometimes we do the longer lengths and they only give us 3 bundles or whatever the case may be, I will not go through that last one because I will run out of hair. Or if I use a 5x5 or a 4x4, if I have a 5x5, okay, I might have a little more wiggle room to go through that last line on the nape. So you have to you have to know whether or not, based on what's given to you. Now, if you're the one making the wig, obviously you can do what you want to do. If you have 4 bundles, if you have 3, but for the most part, I'm going to say rarely do I go through the band because I usually don't have enough hair. Now, if I have enough hair, we're going through the band. So it doesn't take away or, do anything funny with the wig, but yes. So those first 2 lines we're going to do at the top are going to kind of mold around the closure, because when I do the lines in the back, they kind of go in a different direction. And these 2, we want to shape around, or U-shape around the closure. So you want to make sure you do those. For me, I like to do the top 2 lines first. Just so I know that they're going around the closure in the same direction opposed to upward, which you'll see in a minute. Once you start from the back, the lines are gonna start kind of going towards the face per se. which is a good thing, what you want. But those first two, sometimes it leaves a gap if you don't put those first two lines. So that's what I noticed for me, is if I don't do those first two lines, I usually have a gap by the time I get to the top for my guidelines, which we could fill in, of course, but it makes it easier that I put those first two lines. And you're gonna see me mess up right here. I'm human, I still make mistakes, so you're gonna see me move this to square it off a little bit more to make it more symmetry on the other side, which is gonna shift my lines a little. But these are guidelines, and because they are guidelines, they don't have to be hit exactly on there to guide the way, lead you on your path, as I like to say. So they do not have to be perfect. You don't necessarily, I always tell my students, like, you could be above, on, or on top of the line, but you shouldn't be at that next line. So don't overdo it when I say don't be on your guidelines. So it's a guide. It's not permanent. You can change it, whatever you see fit for whatever wig you're making. A lot of the times our customers don't even see this. They don't even know what this is. They don't have a clue. So you just want to make sure that you try to stay on track as much as possible. I don't do one side and then go to the other side. I literally go back and forth just to make sure my symmetry is on. And usually I don't do this on a mannequin stand. I usually do this in my lap. But because I want to show you guys at a good view what it looks like. As you can see, the direction looks a little different from the top, but I am making straight lines. Again, we are working on a curve, so it looks as if I'm going down, but I'm literally going straight across. So make sure you are going straight across with your guidelines. You're never curving them. You're already working on the curve, so you don't need to curve them anymore. But as you can see, as you work your way up, the lines are a little different compared to those first two lines, and then they end up kind of meshing together. But for me, like I said, I like to do those first two lines to make sure I don't have too much of a gap between my tracks. And then sometimes, depending on how much hair I have left, I will close it off with a single just to close up, because it still will be a little space, not a lot. Usually the hair will be enough to cover it, but a lot of the times when I get to the top, I will use a single track and go all the way around. That's if I have enough hair left. So it does happen that I run out of hair. What you see right now is me using two different products to show you how to hot comb your hair out the way for when you put it on the machine. I have my In Your Glow Shine Spray and then my pressed grease. I want to show you both. One is the grease, so it's more precision on where the product is going, and then the spray, it kind of gets all over. So it just depends on what you're trying to do as far as the look, whether you use this to get your hair out the way or use this to plug or push your hair back for your style. Yes, we are using my 500-degree hot comb. It is on my website right now, so if you want to go check that out, you can. And then we're just going to hot comb all the hair out the way. I do this last most of the time because what happens is I'm going to be pulling on my closure or my frontal, and it can pull out of place, especially with a frontal, because usually we only have 3 points that's holding it down. So as soon as I start combing it, it moves it out the way. So you want to remember that before you do this. To make sure that you have your guidelines in place already, because once you start pulling on it, it will change. You know, that's not where you need the closure or frontal to be. So please keep that in mind when you are hot combing your hair out the way. And as you can see, I got that baby flat because I need it out the way. This is very important when sewing on a sewing machine, sewing your closure on a sewing machine, because that hair will get in the way. And usually if I don't have nails, I will braid this out the way, but now since I'm just gonna put it in a ponytail, but I make sure it gets really, really flat. And this comes in handy when you flat ironing, you know. Well, that's the end of this video. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, whatever you want me to do. And see you guys next time, Slay Baes.